Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something, well, really fascinating, maybe even a little unsettling, a paradox of our times. We're going to explore how, as we're busy training artificial intelligence to communicate incredibly well, with amazing precision and richness, we humans might actually be sort of losing some of our own expressive touch. Our goal here is to unpack this whole idea mainly using insights from this thought-provoking source, l'ironia della comunicazione, the irony of communication. We teach AI while losing our language. It really gets you thinking about how our language is shifting, almost without us noticing. I mean, think about your own chats. Ever feel like they're getting shorter? Or you're relying more on things like abbreviations? Yeah, you might be right in the middle of this trend. It makes you ask, are we creating these, digitally eloquent machines?
Yeah.
But maybe sacrificing our own human voice to do it. What's your gut reaction to that, just off the bat? So, okay, let's really get into this main idea from the source, this big paradox. AI models are learning from millions of texts, everything, poems, novels, research papers, learning to communicate with real depth. While we humans seem more content with, well, a language that's getting more basic, maybe even a bit impoverished. What's the core tension there for you?
It is precisely that contradiction that's so striking. It's fascinating. We are literally building machines to write, speak, communicate like us, sometimes even better in certain ways. But at the same time, our own ability to express complex thoughts, nuanced feelings, it seems to be getting shallower, poorer. It's like you're creating these super communicators, these AIs, while we ourselves are kind of communicating worse and worse.
And this isn't just some abstract idea, right? The source gives some really concrete, everyday examples of how our language might be deteriorating. Like, remember full sentences. Now it feels like it's all acronyms, abbreviations.
Exactly. That's a key point the source makes. How often communication boils down to things like LOL, ASAP, BTW. These aren't just shortcuts. They often replace the full expression, and you lose the emotional subtlety, the context.
It's speed over detail.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Sacrificing richness for quickness.
And it's not only acronyms, is it? We're also seeing new words pop up, neologisms, I think they're called, words that kind of push out older, maybe more, I don't know, elegant ways of saying things.
Indeed. The source points to examples like spoiler instead of reveal details beforehand, or tag instead of mention or identify, or even Google instead of search for information. And the argument isn't just that language changes, which it always does, but that this specific shift, as the source puts it, might mean we're forgetting the ancient values or the deeper layers of meaning embedded in those original phrases.
We lose the history of the word almost.
Yeah, or the precision. It's a potential narrowing of our expressive toolkit.
And social media obviously plays a huge role here. It just seems built for short, fast messages.
Oh, absolutely. It emphasizes brevity, immediacy, character limits, fast scrolling feeds, emojis stand in for complex emotions, hashtags categorize rather than describe deeply. And often what goes viral isn't necessarily the most thoughtful content, right? It's the catchiest. The source calls it a brevity wins over depth situation. Complex ideas get squeezed out.
Yeah, you see these new phrases. The source mentions things like "shilati," chill out, or "mi piaci un botto," I like you a lot. They spread super fast, but sometimes feel a bit thin, like they lack real depth. Does that make sense? Are we seeing language get sort of, I don't know, drained?
That's the central concern being raised, yes. It's not that new expressions are inherently bad language evolves, but the worry, as the source frames it, is when these simpler forms replace more nuanced options entirely. It's about the overall richness, the range of expression available to us. Is it shrinking?
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. What about when we start letting AI actually write for us? Emails, messages, maybe even creative stuff. The source suggests we're losing something really important when we delegate like that.
Well, connecting it back, if we delegate the act of writing, whether it's work email or those suggested replies in messaging apps, or even asking AI to generate stories or poems, we miss out on something crucial. We miss the chance to develop our own thinking through the effort of putting words together. The composition itself is a thinking tool. We get the product, the text, but skip the process. And the learning is in the process.
So even for, say, a student doing homework, if they rely heavily on AI, they're missing that personal growth, that deep dive into understanding, crafting their own original take.
Absolutely. That's the argument. AI might write technically flawless prose or even verse, but the source argues it struggles to capture that human essence, the lived experience that fuels great art. Think about poetry. AI can mimic form, but can it convey genuine human struggle or joy in the same way? Not yet, perhaps. And AI articles might give you facts quickly, sure. but they often lack that human interpretation, the analysis, the unique perspective that makes good writing compelling.
And this dependency isn't just on big writing tasks. It's the everyday stuff too, right? Like autocorrect, predictive text that finishes our sentences, instant translators.
Yeah.
We barely notice them anymore. What's the risk there?
It does raise a significant question. If we constantly rely on tech to fix our spelling or suggest our next words before we even fully form the thought, or if instant translation removes the main incentive to actually learn another language, are we potentially hindering our own cognitive development, our natural linguistic abilities? It's worth considering.
Okay, this next point feels like the real core of the irony the source talks about. It's pretty profound. We are literally feeding AI systems with the greatest hits of human expression, all of literature, philosophy, art, the richest stuff we've ever produced, while we ourselves seem to be moving away from that very heritage.
Precisely. It's a stark contrast. We're nourishing this emerging intelligence with a depth and richness that we're perhaps allowing to fade within ourselves. And the source makes a poignant point about languages like Italian, known for its melody and richness, being potentially at risk from simplification.
It really throws the difference between human eloquence and, well, algorithmic efficiency into sharp relief, doesn't it?
It really does. Human eloquence thrives on creativity, emotion, originality. Even the imperfections, the quirks make it human. Algorithmic efficiency is about speed, accuracy, predictability. A kind of perfection maybe, but as the source puts it, potentially without soul.
Mm.
And this also touches on why AI still struggles with things like subtle humor, irony, sarcasm, the really nuanced human stuff.
So what are the implications for the future of how we communicate? Because it's not just words, is it? It's tone, body language, that shared understanding between people.
It means we risk losing those vital layers. Technology can't fully replicate that deep context, that nonverbal communication, that shared history yet. And preserving linguistic diversity isn't just about keeping different words alive. It's about preserving different ways of thinking, different worldviews embedded in language. Losing that diversity means we potentially impoverish our collective thought.
Okay, so that's the potential problem laid out. What can we actually do about it? How do we push back against this trend? The source does offer some practical advice, right, on rediscovering authentic communication.
Yes, and it emphasizes some quite simple but powerful actions. Things like consciously slowing down, taking the time to actually formulate complete thoughts, both when we think and when we speak or write. Also, trying to go deeper into topics, exploring complexity instead of just surface-level takes. And maybe most importantly, truly listening. Paying proper attention to what others are saying, not just waiting to talk. These are fundamental ways to resist that pull towards superficiality.
And what about AI itself? Can we use it constructively? As a tool, not just a replacement.
That's a key question the source explores. How can AI be a partner, not a substitute? Maybe it can help brainstorm when we're stuck, or help us polish and refine our own writing, using it to amplify our authentic voice rather than silencing it. The source suggests viewing AI as a complement. We could even learn from its models, like how it structures arguments, to improve our own skills.
So it boils down to rediscovering the sheer value of words. Well-chosen words. Their power for precision, for evoking feeling, for actually clarifying what we think.
Absolutely. In a world that feels increasingly standardized, almost homogenized by digital trends, making the effort towards authentic personal expression becomes really important. It's almost an act of cultural resistance, a way to affirm our individuality, our unique human perspective.
The source also gives some really concrete tips for actively building our language skills. Things like reading quality books daily, maybe keeping a journal for regular writing, and engaging in conversations that actually be somewhere. What stands out to you from those practical tips? Anything particularly key for our listeners?
I think the idea of cultivating linguistic curiosity is really powerful. Don't just use words, explore them. Look into their origins, their etymology, how their meanings shifted. It builds a much deeper relationship with language. And looking forward, the advice on teaching younger generations is crucial. Modeling good communication ourselves, talking with them, encouraging creative writing, that's vital for the long haul.
Yeah, and some really hands-on exercises too, like practicing detailed descriptions of things, or actively finding synonyms and antonyms for everyday words just to stretch our vocabulary, or even rewriting a piece of text in different styles, formal, poetic, technical, just playing with language. Plus, it mentioned handwriting and face-to-face conversation, things we maybe don't value enough now.
Exactly. Handwriting actually uses different parts of the brain than typing. It slows us down, encourages reflection, makes it more personal. And face-to-face conversation, well, that's where you get the full picture, isn't it? The tone, the micro-expressions, the body language, the immediate back and forth. No tech perfectly replicates that richness yet. It all points towards a potential future where, ideally, human creativity, our originality, emotion, intuition works with AI's efficiency, but that collaboration depends on us actively maintaining and valuing our human skills.
So wrapping up, what does all this mean for you listening right now as you navigate this world where human talk meets AI? As the source reminds us, in an increasingly automated world, your genuine, authentic expression. That's a really valuable thing, a treasure even.
Which really leads to a final question for everyone, I think. If we agree that knowledge isn't just having information, but understanding and applying it, and if our unique voice truly is a treasure, what's one small thing you could do this week? One small step to actively cultivate or just celebrate the power of your own words, your human eloquence. Maybe it is just picking up a book instead of scrolling, or writing something down by hand, or having one conversation that goes a bit deeper. What will you choose?